Hello, friends. If you're tuning in right now, maybe you're curled up on a worn couch in some small town, or driving down a long highway with the windows cracked, letting the night air rush in. Maybe you're in Nashville yourself, hearing the faint twang of distant guitars from Broadway. Or maybe you're halfway across the country, just needing a story to carry you through the quiet hours. Pull up a chair, pour yourself something warm, sweet tea, black coffee, whatever soothes your soul, because this one starts gentle, like the opening chords of an old country ballad before the heartbreak kicks in. It builds slow, it lingers, and by the end, nothing feels the same. My name is Eleanor Caldwell. Most folks call me Ellie, and for the better part of 4 decades, I was the steady half of one of Nashville's most recognizable couples. My husband was Travis Caldwell. You know the name, that deep smoke and gravel voice that could make a stadium full of people feel like they were the only one hurting. Songs like Whiskey on the Porch Swing, where the chorus hits you square in the chest. Pour another double, let the night roll slow, 'cause the one I loved just packed up and let go. Or Ghost in the Rearview, the one that made grown men cry in their pickups. And Lies I Told Myself at Midnight. Lord, that one still plays on every heartbreak station from here to Texas. Travis wasn't just successful, he was the kind of famous that changes a life. We went from scraping by on bar gigs and demo tapes to red carpets at the CMAs, private jets, and a house on Music Row that folks drove by just to take pictures. I'd stand backstage at the Grand Ole Opry, watching him under those golden lights, guitar slung low, hat tipped just so, and think, we made it. This is the dream we chased since we were kids. But dreams have shadows, and houses built on them can hide things you never imagined. I spent 32 years teaching English at Hillsborough High School, right here in Nashville. I loved those kids, the freshmen who rolled their eyes at Shakespeare until they saw themselves in Hamlet, the seniors who finally cracked open To Kill a Mockingbird and understood why Atticus Finch mattered. I loved the smell of chalk dust, the squeak of sneakers in the halls, the way a quiet kid would slip me a poem they'd never show anyone else. But time catches up. In May 2023, I walked out of that classroom for the last time. The bell rang, the kids cheered like it was their freedom too, and I carried my box of books and framed student drawings to the parking lot under a sky so blue it hurt to look at. Retirement hit different than I expected. No more alarm clocks buzzing at 5:45, no more grading essays until my eyes burned. Just quiet. Too much quiet. Travis was still out there, always out there. One more farewell tour, he kept saying, though we both knew farewell tours could stretch forever if the checks kept coming. He'd call from hotel rooms in Dallas or Atlanta, voice tired but warm. "Miss you, Ellie girl. Can't wait to sleep in our bed." Then the line would go dead, and the house would settle around me like a heavy quilt. Our home was a 1928 Craftsman bungalow on a tree-lined stretch of Music Row. Wide front porch with a swing that creaked in the breeze, stained glass windows that threw rainbows across the hardwood floors when the sun hit right, wrap-around porch rails painted sage green. Travis bought it in 1995 with the first fat royalty check from his debut album. "Forever home," he said, kissing me on that porch the day we closed. We raised no kids there, just dogs that came and went, guitars that piled up, memories that stuck to the walls like old concert posters. That first summer without school felt strange. The humidity rolled in thick off the Cumberland River, making every breath feel like drinking through a straw. Magnolias bloomed heavy and sweet outside the windows. Distant barbecue smoke drifted from backyards. I wandered the rooms, touching things I'd neglected for years. Travis's gold records on the walls, my old lesson plan binders in the office, the faded quilts my mama made us when we married. The basement called to me. It had been Travis's recording cave back in the early days, before the big labels moved him into glass-walled studios downtown. Concrete floors, low ceiling, walls lined with yellowed acoustic foam panels that looked like giant egg cartons gone bad. Dusty amps stacked in corners, cables snaking everywhere like black vines, a sagging leather couch where he'd written half his first album. I'd avoided it for years, too many memories of late nights when he'd disappear down there and come up at dawn smelling of coffee and inspiration. But retirement gave me time. I wanted to reclaim it, paint the walls soft gray, organize the gear, maybe turn half into a cozy reading nook with bookshelves and a lamp, a space that was mine. That's when I hired Marcus Ruiz. He was 25, from East Nashville, tall, quiet, with forearms covered in tattooed lyrics, Johnny Cash's I Walk the Line, Dolly's Jolene, and Townes Van Zant's Poncho and Lefty. He pulled up in a beat-up Ford pickup with Fix It Right, handyman services stenciled in white on the door. Ball cap, work boots, polite smile. "Ma'am," he said, shaking my hand, firm but gentle. "You said full basement refresh? Paint, organize, seal any cracks in the foundation?" "Yes, please," I told him, "and check the wiring. Travis always said the lights flickered like they had a mind of their own. Probably just old knob and tube, but I'd feel better knowing." Marcus nodded, no nonsense. "I'll start tomorrow. Bring my own tools, keep things clean. Won't take more than a week unless we hit surprises." He was true to his word. Day 1, hauled out trash, sorted cables, wiped down amps. Day 2, he was prying at a loose strip of wood paneling along the far wall, said it looked warped, might be hiding water damage. That's when he called me down. The stairs were narrow, wooden, creaking under every step. Basement air hit me, cooler, mustier, like opening an old record sleeve that's been stored too long. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. "Mrs. Caldwell," voice low, almost a whisper, "you got a minute? There's something behind this panel." He'd pulled off a 2-foot section of the thin wood. Behind it, a narrow door flush with the wall, painted the exact same faded beige as everything else. No knob, just a small brass latch, shiny and new-looking, no dust on it at all. "I figured closet or storage at first," Marcus said, wiping his hands on his jeans. "But look, the latch is locked, and it's locked from the inside. See how the mechanism's engaged?" I leaned closer. He was right. "And listen." We both went still. From behind the door came the softest sound, a guitar plucked once, deliberate, clear, then twice. A pause. Silence. My heart did that funny little stutter it does when something's very wrong. Travis never mentioned another room down here. Marcus rubbed the back of his neck. "The lock's recent, brass hasn't tarnished, and there's light leaking under the bottom edge, dim, yellow, like a battery lamp or something small." The air felt thinner suddenly. Despite the summer heat pressing down upstairs, goosebumps rose on my arms. "Leave it," I said quickly. "Don't touch it anymore. I'll ask Travis when he gets back." Travis was in Austin that week. ACL festival sound check, media rounds, the usual whirlwind. I called him that night from the porch swing, cicadas screaming in the trees. "Ollie, darlin'," he answered on the second ring. "You okay? You sound spooked." "There's music coming from the basement, behind a hidden door we never knew about." He laughed, that rich, honey-warm laugh that sold 1,000,000 records. "Old house, baby. Pipes knocking, wind through vents. Maybe the neighbor kid got his window open practicing. Don't go poking around alone. Could be critters or bad wiring. I'm home Sunday. We'll check it together, flashlight and all." Sunday came and went. Text from Travis. "Flight delayed. Mechanical issue. Another week, darling. Love you." The music didn't stop. Late at night, when the house settled and the street lights hummed outside, faint melodies drifted up through the vents, the opening riff of Ghost in the Rear View, but slower, sadder, like someone playing it from memory, grieving every note. I'd sit up in bed, listening, heart pounding, telling myself it was imagination, old demos Travis left running years ago. Anything but what it felt like, someone alive down there playing our songs. Then the other signs started. One morning, I walked into the kitchen at dawn. On the counter, a dinner plate with half a piece of fried chicken left over, crispy skin, golden, one clean bite taken. Travis hated fried anything, said it coated his throat, wrecked his range. I hadn't cooked chicken in weeks. Trash can empty, no wrapper, no bone, no grease stain, just the plate sitting there like an accusation. Another afternoon, a single sheet of paper on the living room coffee table, fresh ink, looping feminine handwriting, looping curves nothing like Travis's blocky and patient scrawl. He promised the stars but left me in the dark. Now I'm chasing taillights, chasing that spark. Whiskey on the porch swing won't wash away the pain when the man you loved walks off with another name. The words twisted around the chorus of Travis's biggest hit, Whiskey on the Porch Swing, but sharper, more wounded, like the song before it got polished for radio. Travis finally walked through the door a week later, tanned from Texas sun, smelling of tour bus diesel and expensive cologne. He dropped his duffel, pulled me into a hug. "Missed you so much, Ellie girl." I waited until after dinner. Then I slid the lyrics sheet across the table. His smile froze. Just a heartbeat. "Must be from a co-writer. Left it last session before I left. People change handwriting when they're stressed. Happens all the time." "But it's not your writing, Travis." He shrugged, easy as breathing. "Let's not fight, baby. I'm starving. How about we order from that barbecue place you like?" That night, he went down to the basement alone. Said he was checking those lights Marcus mentioned. I heard him humming, moving boxes. He came up whistling like nothing happened. "Nothing there, darlin', just old junk and bad memories. You're imagining things, retirement jitters." But when I went down the next morning, the basement air carried the faint scent of jasmine perfume. Travis wore sandalwood and leather, always had. I stood at the top of the stairs, staring into the dark, and felt it deep in my bones. Someone was living in my house. Someone who knew Travis's songs better than the world ever would. Someone who'd been there a long, long time. And whatever or whoever was behind that door, they weren't done singing yet. Chapter 2. Shadows and Doubts. The days after that first real look behind the hidden door stretched long and thin, like a slow steel guitar slide that never quite resolves. Summer in Nashville doesn't hurry, it settles in your bones, heavy with heat and the promise of evening thunderstorms that roll in from the west, crack the sky open, then leave everything steaming and smelling of wet asphalt and cut grass. I spent those weeks moving through the house like a ghost in my own life, touching counters, folding laundry that didn't need folding, staring out the porch windows at the magnolia tree whose blossoms had started to brown at the edges. Travis announced his creative break over breakfast one muggy Tuesday. He was flipping pancakes, his one domestic skill, the only thing he ever cooked without burning, and he said it casual, like he was mentioning the weather. "No dates booked till October, Ellie girl. Gonna hole up here, finish some songs. Just you, me, and the old house. How's that sound?" I smiled, because that's what wives do when their famous husbands come home. "Sounds perfect," I said. But inside, something cold uncoiled. Perfect meant more time in the house, more time for me to notice things, more time for the music to keep drifting up through the vents when he thought I was asleep. He spent hours down in the main basement studio every afternoon, door closed. Sometimes I'd hear the familiar strum of his Martin acoustic, the low murmur of his voice testing lyrics. "Rough cuts, baby," he'd call up when I knocked, "not ready for ears yet." I'd nod, walk away, and pretend I believed him. But the other music, the hidden music, never stopped. It came at odd hours. 3 in the morning when the street outside was dead quiet, except for an occasional car humming down 16th Avenue. A single chord held too long, a hummed melody that matched the bridge of lies I told myself at midnight.
Once, just after midnight, I swear I heard the opening verse of Whiskey on the Porch Swing, sung soft, almost whispered, the way someone sings when they're alone and don't want to be heard. The voice was higher than Travis's, fragile, female. It stopped when I sat up in bed. I started keeping a little notebook, nothing fancy, just one of those spiral-bound ones I used to use for grading rubrics. I wrote dates, times, what I heard, what I found. July 12th, 2:47 a.m., faint guitar, E minor, same riff as Ghost in the Rear View. July 15th, morning, another half-eaten plate in the kitchen, this time biscuits and gravy. One bite gone, fork still on the plate, like someone had been interrupted. Travis doesn't eat gravy, says it's too heavy. Trash empty again, no wrappers. July 18th, empty water bottle in the kitchen trash. Lipstick on the rim, pale pink. I don't own pink lipstick, haven't since the 90s. I recorded the humming on my phone one night, held it near the vent in the hallway floor. The sound came through clear, a woman's voice, soft, carrying the melody like she'd written it herself. I played it back in the bathroom with the fan on so Travis wouldn't hear. My hands shook so bad that the phone rattled against the sink. I confronted him again one rainy afternoon. Thunder grumbled over the city like an old man clearing his throat. We were in the kitchen. He was scrolling through his phone, feet up on the table. "Travis, there's someone in the basement. I hear her. I smell jasmine perfume down there after you come up. And the food. Someone's eating what I don't cook." He set the phone down slow, looked at me with those steady hazel eyes that used to make me feel safe. "Ellie, retirement's hitting you hard. Empty nest, even without kids. You're hearing echoes, old demos I left running years ago. The perfume? Probably something I spilled down there once. And the food? Maybe I've been stress eating at night. I don't remember everything. But the lipstick, the handwriting on that lyric sheet." He shrugged, easy as breathing. "Let's not fight, baby. I'm starving. How about we order from that barbecue place you like?" That night, he went down to the basement alone, said he was checking those lights Marcus mentioned. I heard him humming, moving boxes. He came up whistling like nothing happened. "Nothing there, darlin', just old junk and bad memories. You're imagining things, retirement jitters." But when I went down the next morning, the basement air carried the faint scent of jasmine perfume. Travis wore sandalwood and leather, always had. I stood at the top of the stairs, staring into the dark, and felt it deep in my bones. Someone was living in my house. Someone who knew Travis's songs better than the world ever would. Someone who'd been there a long, long time. And whatever or whoever was behind that door, they weren't done singing yet.
Chapter 3. The Night of Revelation. The rain had stopped by evening, but the air still hung thick and damp, the kind of Nashville summer night where every sound carries farther than it should. Cicadas screamed in the trees lining Music Row, a relentless chorus that matched the pounding in my chest. I sat in the living room with all the lights off except one table lamp beside the couch, its warm glow pooling on the coffee table like spilled honey. On that table lay the evidence I could no longer pretend away. The faded Polaroid of young Travis and Leela, arms around each other, laughing like the world was theirs. The spiral notebook open to that half-finished lyric about betrayal and locked doors. The pale pink lipstick-stained water bottle I'd fished from the trash and set down like an accusation. I hadn't eaten dinner. Couldn't. My stomach was a knot of wire. I'd texted Travis an hour earlier. "Come straight home after the session. We need to talk. No excuses." He'd replied with a thumbs-up emoji and a heart. Casual, affectionate, the same way he always did, as if nothing had changed. The front door opened at 10:47 p.m. I heard his boots on the hardwood, the jingle of keys hitting the bowl by the door, the soft sigh he always made when he stepped inside after a long day. "Ellie girl?" he called, voice warm, expectant. "You in here?" I didn't answer right away. Let him find me.
He walked into the living room, still in his black button-down and jeans, sleeves rolled to the elbows, hair damp from the humidity outside. He saw me first, then the table. His smile faltered, then died completely when his eyes landed on the Polaroid. For a heartbeat, the room was perfectly still. Even the cicadas seemed to pause. "Sit," I said. My voice came out flat, calm, too calm. "Now." He didn't argue. He crossed the room slow, like a man walking towards something he'd known was coming for years. He lowered himself onto the armchair across from me, elbows on knees, hands clasped so tight the knuckles went white. "Ellie," he started. "Don't." I cut him off. "Don't say my name like that. Not tonight." Silence stretched between us, heavy as wet cotton. I picked up the Polaroid, held it out so the lamplight caught her face, Leela's face, same hazel eyes as his, same crooked smile. "Leela," I said, "your sister. She's alive. She's been living in our basement for 35 years, writing your songs, every damn one of them." His shoulders sagged. Not denial, not anger, just collapse, like a dam finally giving way after decades of holding back floodwaters. He dropped his head into his hands. "How long have you known?" he whispered. "Long enough to stop pretending I don't." He lifted his face, tears already shining in his eyes, the same eyes that had charmed me at 19, that had looked out from album covers and magazine spreads for decades. "I never wanted you to find out, not like this." "Then how?" I asked, voice rising for the first time. "How were you planning to keep this forever? Feed her scraps, lock the door, let her write your next platinum single while I sleep upstairs thinking my husband is a genius?" He flinched like I slapped him. Maybe I should have. "Start talking," I said, "from the beginning, and don't you dare leave anything out." He took a long, shaky breath. Then he began. It started in 1987. Travis was 22, scraping by on bar gigs in Printer's Alley, playing covers to drunks who barely listened. Leela was 19, 2 years younger, fresh out of high school, already writing songs that made people stop and stare. She had notebooks full of them, heartbreak ballads, road anthems, quiet confessions that felt like they'd been pulled straight from someone's soul. Travis heard them all, envied them all. "She was better than me," he said now, voice raw. "Always was. I knew it. She didn't. She just wanted to help her big brother." One night she played him Ghost in the Rear View, raw acoustic version, just her and a beat-up guitar in their mama's living room. Travis listened, memorized every line. The next week he recorded a demo, his voice, her words, and shopped around. A small indie label bit. The single dropped, climbed to #1 on the Billboard Hot Country chart in 6 weeks. Suddenly, doors opened, producers called, money came in. Travis's name was everywhere. When Leela found out he'd claimed the song, she confronted him, hurt, furious. "That was mine, Trav. You said it was just a demo." He begged, cried even, told her the label wouldn't take it from a teenage girl with no track record, told her they'd lose everything, Mama's medical bills from the cancer treatments, the house payment, his shot at making it. "Just this once, let me be the voice. You'll get credit later, I swear." She believed him because she loved him, because family. The hits kept coming. Whiskey on the Porch Swing, Lies I Told Myself at Midnight. Every one hers. She wrote in secret, first in her apartment, then when Travis moved her into a small rental he paid for, still hidden from the world. He brought her groceries, notebooks, a cheap keyboard, told her it was temporary, told her the industry wasn't ready for a ghostwriter story yet. But Leela started pushing back, wanted her name on the songs, wanted out, wanted to stand in the light. Travis panicked. One night, he said, staring at the floor, we argued, bad. She was drunk, first time I'd ever seen her like that. Said she was going to the press, tell everyone the truth. I lost it. Locked the door to the basement here, just to calm her down, I told myself. Just for the night. The night became days. Days became weeks. He soundproofed more, built the hidden room piece by piece. Panels, latch, ventilation he rigged himself. Told the family she'd run off with some musician boyfriend to California. Spread rumors. Let the myth grow. Turned her disappearance into fuel for his saddest ballads. The sympathy poured in. Sales soared. He fed her, he said. Brought her books, guitars, medicine when she got sick. I never hurt her, not physically. You buried her alive, I whispered. He sobbed then, great choking sobs that shook his whole frame. I loved her, Ellie, but I loved what she gave me more. Then I met you, fell in love with you, couldn't lose you, couldn't lose any of it. So I kept going, year after year, telling myself one day I'd let her go. One day. I stood up, walked to the window. Rain started again, soft patter on the porch roof. I watched it streak the glass. How could you? My voice cracked. How could you do that to your own sister, to me? I mourned her with you. I cried when you dedicated albums to her. I believed every word. I know, he said brokenly. God help me, I know. Footsteps on the basement stairs. Slow, hesitant, bare feet on wood. We both turned. Leela stepped into the lamplight. She was thin, too thin, silver threading through what used to be dark hair. Her face was lined, eyes sunken, but still those same hazel eyes. She wore one of Travis's old tour t-shirts, sleeve rolled up, hanging on her like a dress. Barefoot, arms wrapped around herself like she might disappear if she let go. She looked at Travis first. No anger, just exhaustion, deep bone-level weariness. Then she looked at me. Ellie, she said. Her voice was rusty, cracked from disuse, but soft. Sister-in-law. It's been a long time. I crossed the room in 3 steps, pulled her into my arms. She was trembling, so was I. We held each other like we'd both been drowning and finally found shore. I'm so sorry, I whispered into her hair. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I know, she murmured. You couldn't have. Travis stayed in the chair, head in his hands, silent now. Leela pulled back gently, looked at Travis. You told her everything? He nodded. She sighed. Good. No more lies. We sat, me and Leela on the couch, Travis across from us. She spoke quietly, filling in what Travis had left out. The years of darkness, the way she wrote to stay sane, pages and pages of songs no one would ever hear under her name. The nights she thought about screaming, but knew no one would believe a runaway over Nashville's golden boy. The way she learned to time her showers when we were both gone, to steal bites of food when hunger won over caution. I hated him for a long time. Then I just stopped feeling much at all. Writing was the only thing left, so I wrote, for him, for the world, even when it broke me. I took her hand, cold, fragile. It's over now, I told her. You're out. You're free. She looked at Travis one last time. Let me go, Trav. Really let me go. He nodded, tears streaming. I will, I swear. That night we didn't sleep. We sat in the living room until dawn crept in, gray and damp through the windows. Lila talked. I listened. Travis cried. And somewhere in those hours, the illusion I'd lived in for 35 years shattered completely. The man I loved had become a stranger. The sister I never knew I had was finally home. And nothing would ever be the same again. Chapter 4. The Unraveling. Dawn came slow that morning, gray and reluctant, the way Nashville mornings sometimes do after a night of heavy rain. The house smelled of coffee I'd brewed, but nobody drank, and the living room still held the echo of last night's tears, mine, Lila's, Travis's. We hadn't slept. Lila sat wrapped in one of my old cardigans on the couch, knees drawn up, staring at the floor like she was memorizing every knot in the hardwood. Travis hadn't moved from the armchair. His face was puffy, eyes red-rimmed, the golden boy charm stripped away until he looked like any other broken man in his 50s. I was the one who moved first. I stood up, legs stiff, and said the words that felt like closing a door on 35 years. I'm calling a lawyer. Not yours, Travis. Mine. He looked up, startled. Ellie. No, I said. You don't get to talk me out of this. Not anymore. I went into the kitchen, phone in hand, and dialed the number of a woman I'd met years ago at a charity gala. Margaret Maggie Harlan, a family law and civil rights attorney who'd built a reputation taking on powerful men who thought money and fame made them untouchable. She answered on the second ring, voice sharp despite the hour. Ellie Caldwell, this better be good. It's barely 6. I told her everything. The hidden room, Lila, the songs, the decades of lies. I didn't cry. I spoke flat, factual, like I was reading a police report. When she finished, there was a long pause. Then Maggie said, I'm coming over. Now. Don't let him leave the house. Don't let him touch anything in that basement. And Ellie, breathe. You're not alone in this. She arrived 40 minutes later in a black SUV, hair pulled back, briefcase in hand, no makeup, no nonsense. She took one look at Lila, thin, trembling, silver hair falling in her face, and her expression softened for the first time. Ms. Caldwell, Maggie said gently, I'm Maggie Harlan. We're going to get you out of this darkness, all the way out. The next hours blurred. Maggie called a doctor. A discreet one who made house calls, blood work, physical exam right there in the living room, malnutrition, vitamin D deficiency, muscle atrophy from years without real sunlight or movement. Lila's bones showed through her skin like fragile scaffolding. The doctor prescribed supplements, physical therapy, trauma counseling. He didn't ask too many questions. Maggie had already briefed him. Then came the police. Maggie insisted we go straight to Metro Nashville PD, downtown headquarters, not some precinct. We walk in with the victim. We don't wait for them to come knocking. Lila rode in the back seat with me, clutching my hand the whole way. Travis followed in his truck, under Maggie's orders. He didn't argue. He looked like a man already in handcuffs. At the station, we were taken to a small conference room. 2 detectives, one older, grizzled, named Hargrove, one younger, female, named Patel, listened without interrupting. Lila spoke first. Her voice started shaky but grew steadier with every word. She described the night in 1988 when Travis locked the door, the promises that turned into threats, the years of writing in dim lamplight, knowing her name would never appear on the albums she made famous. She named every song, gave dates, described the hidden room in detail, mattress, bucket, the way the latch clicked like a gunshot every time he left. Hargrove's face hardened when she mentioned the false story Travis spread, the runaway sister, the bad boyfriend, the California myth. We'll need access to the residence, search warrants being typed up now. They moved fast. By noon, crime scene tape went up around our house. Officers in gloves carried out notebooks, the guitar, the Polaroids, even the bucket. Forensics photographed every inch of the hidden room. Lila watched from the porch swing, wrapped in a blanket, Maggie beside her. Travis didn't fight. When they read his rights, he just nodded. I want to cooperate, he said quietly. I want this over. He tried to run that night. Maggie had warned us. He'll bolt if he thinks the walls are closing in. She'd stationed a private investigator outside, subtle, unmarked car across the street. At 2 a.m., Travis slipped out the back door with a duffel bag and a plane ticket to Mexico City booked on a burner phone. The PI followed him to the airport. Metro PD was waiting at security. They arrested him in front of a crowd of bleary-eyed travelers pulling roller bags. Photos hit the internet before sunrise. Travis Caldwell in handcuffs, head down, hat pulled low. The headline wrote itself. Country star arrested in decades-long family captivity case. The media storm hit like a tornado. By morning, every outlet from CMT to CNN had the story. Nashville ghostwriter scandal trended worldwide. Reporters camped outside the house, cameras, microphones, drones overhead. They shouted questions when I stepped on the porch. "Mrs. Caldwell, did you know? Is it true Travis Caldwell stole his sister's songs? How long was she hidden?" Maggie handled the press. She gave one controlled statement on the front lawn. My client, Lila Caldwell, was unlawfully deprived of her liberty for over 35 years by her brother, Travis Caldwell. She was forced to ghostwrite songs that built his career while her own identity and freedom were erased. We are cooperating fully with law enforcement and pursuing civil remedies. That is all for now. Inside, Lila and I watched the coverage on mute. Her face, younger, smiling, in old family photos, flashed across the screen beside grainy shots of the basement room. Commentators debated, was it kidnapping, false imprisonment, copyright fraud, mental abuse, all of the above? The label dropped him the next day. Statement short and cold. Out of respect for the ongoing investigation and the victims involved, we have terminated our relationship with Travis Caldwell effective immediately. All future royalties from disputed works are frozen pending legal resolution. Concerts canceled, radio stations pulled his songs, streaming numbers spiked, people curious, horrified, then heartbroken. Fans posted old interviews where Travis choked up talking about losing my sister. The irony burned. Lila asked for one thing. "I want my name on them," she said one evening, sitting at the kitchen table while I made tea. Not revenge, just truth. If the world sang my words, let them know who wrote them. Maggie filed the civil suit that week: false imprisonment, intentional emotional distress, conversion for the stolen intellectual property, fraud, unjust enrichment. We attached copies of the notebooks, hundreds of pages with Lila's handwriting, Travis's margin notes, dates that predated every single release. Experts analyzed the drafts, handwriting matches, ink aging, even the paper stock, consistent with what Lila bought in bulk from an office supply store in 1988, before Travis moved her underground. Travis's defense crumbled fast. His first lawyer, a high-priced Nashville shark, quit after seeing the evidence. The second one advised a plea. In a closed hearing 3 months later, Travis pled guilty to multiple counts: unlawful imprisonment, conspiracy to commit fraud, obstruction of justice, and related charges. The judge, gray-haired, no-nonsense, looked at him over reading glasses. "You turned your own sister into a prisoner for profit. There is no excuse that erases 35 years. Sentence, 20 years, with possibility of parole after 12. Credit for time served awaiting trial." Travis didn't speak, he just lowered his head. Lila watched from the back row. First time she'd left the house for something other than doctor's visits. She wore a simple navy dress I'd bought her, hair pulled back, no tears, just quiet dignity. When the gavel fell, she reached over and squeezed my hand. Afterwards, in the hallway outside the courtroom, a reporter asked her one question. "Ms. Caldwell, do you forgive him?" She looked straight into the camera. "I survived him. That's enough." We walked out into the October sunlight, crisp, golden, the kinds that makes Music Row feel almost hopeful again. Lila paused on the steps, tilted her face up, closed her eyes. "Sun feels different," she whispered. "Real." Back home, the crime scene tape was gone. The basement room had been cleared, evidence boxed, walls photographed, then sealed up. I hired contractors to rip it all out, turn the space into an open music room, bright white walls, big windows we installed, a new piano, shelves for Lila's notebooks, no more shadows. Lila started physical therapy, started walking farther each day, down the block, then to the corner coffee shop. People recognized her now, not as Travis's tragic sister, but as Lila Caldwell, the woman who wrote the songs they'd loved for decades. Some cried when they saw her. Some hugged her. "We're sorry," they said. "We believed the lie." She smiled, small, real. "I did
Too, she'd answer. For a long time. The royalties began redirecting. Song by song, credits updated on streaming platforms. Ghost in the Rear View now listed Lila Caldwell as sole writer. Same for Whiskey on the Porch Swing. Checks started arriving. Back payments plus interest. Lila didn't want the money for herself. Women's shelters, she said. Music programs for kids who can't afford lessons. Places where people can be heard. I nodded. "And your name stays on every song." She looked at me, eyes clear, no longer hollow. That's all I ever wanted. The house felt lighter after that. Porch swings still creaked, magnolias still bloomed, but the silence that used to press down was gone. In its place, music. Lila's music. Played soft on the new stereo, windows open, letting the notes drift out into the neighborhood. Travis's name faded from the airwaves. Lila's began to rise. And somewhere in that slow, steady unraveling, justice didn't feel like revenge. It felt like breathing again. Chapter 5. The Light After. The courtroom doors closed behind us that October afternoon, and something in the air shifted, like the first cool front after a long, punishing summer. Nashville smelled of fallen leaves and distant wood smoke. The sky was that impossible blue you only get in fall, the kind that makes you believe tomorrow might be kinder. Lila walked down those wide stone steps beside me, one hand on the rail, the other tucked into the crook of my elbow. She moved slow, still getting used to open space, to stairs without a low ceiling pressing down. But her chin was up. For the first time in 35 years, she walked in sunlight that wasn't filtered through a dirty attic vent or a basement crack. We didn't speak much on the drive home. Maggie followed in her SUV, gave us space. When we pulled into the driveway on Music Row, the porch swing was swaying gently in the breeze, same as always. But the house looked different now, lighter, like it had exhaled. Inside, Lila paused in the foyer. She touched the stained glass window, the one that threw rainbows across the floor when the sun hit right. She whispered, "I remember this. From before. I used to sit here and write when Mama was napping." I swallowed hard. "It's still here, waiting for you." We turned the basement into something new over the next few weeks. I hired contractors, quiet ones, who didn't ask questions beyond white walls or cream. We ripped out the old acoustic foam, the hidden panels, the concrete chill. In their place, bright drywall painted soft dove gray, big casement windows we cut into the foundation wall, with proper egress, permits, everything legal. A wide plank oak floor that glowed under recessed lights. We brought in a baby grand piano, used but tuned perfect. A couple of acoustic guitars, a small sofa, shelves for her notebooks. No more shadows, no more locked doors. Just open space and music. Lila started physical therapy twice a week. A kind woman named Carla came to the house. Gentle stretches, balance work, short walks around the block. At first, Lila tired after 10 minutes. Her legs shook, but she never complained. "I've got time now," she'd say, wiping sweat from her forehead. "No rush." She started counseling too, a therapist who specialized in long-term captivity and trauma. They met in the new music room, soft light, plants on the windowsill, the faint scent of cedar from a candle. I'd sit upstairs on the porch swing while they talked, listening to the murmur of voices below, the occasional quiet sob, the long silences. I didn't push. Lila would tell me what she wanted to share when she was ready. One evening in early November, leaves crunching underfoot, she came up the stairs carrying a notebook, one of the old ones from the hidden room. She sat beside me on the swing.
"I want to record," she said simply. "My songs, the ones no one's heard." We made it happen. Maggie knew people, producers who'd walked away from Travis's camp the moment the story broke. One of them, a soft-spoken guy named Ray, who'd worked with Patty Griffin and Gillian Welch, offered his small, independent studio downtown. No pressure, no big label, just clean mics, warm amps, and time. Lila chose 10 songs, some she'd written in the dark years, some new ones that came after freedom. Raw ballads about locked doors and stolen light, quiet hymns to survival, a road song that felt like walking out into the world for the first time. She sang them herself, voice still fragile but true. No auto-tune, no polish, just Lila and a guitar, sometimes piano, sometimes just her breath between lines. The album came together over 6 months. We called it Songs from the Walls. Simple cover, a black and white photo of the old Craftsman porch swing at dusk, empty but waiting. Inside the liner notes, one line from Lila. "For every voice kept in the dark, may yours find the light." It dropped quietly. No big press push, no radio blitz, just a Bandcamp page, a few streaming links, and word of mouth. But word spread fast. Fans who'd grown up on Travis's hits heard the truth in every note. They recognized the melodies, the bones of Ghost in the Rear View, the heart of Whiskey on the Porch Swing, but now sung by the woman who wrote them. Reviews poured in. Rolling Stone called it a reclamation of American songwriting at its most honest. NPR did a feature. The voice behind the hits finally sings her own name. Streams climbed, then sales, then awards buzz. Lila didn't chase the spotlight. She did one interview, NPR's Tiny Desk concert series, filmed right in our new music room. She sat on a stool, silver hair loose, simple cotton dress, and played 4 songs. No makeup, no nerves, just truth. When she finished the last note of the title track, a slow, aching ballad about 35 years of silence, the host wiped his eyes on camera. Afterwards, people started coming by the house. Not paparazzi, real people. Neighbors who'd lived on Music Row for decades. Old session musicians who'd worked with Travis and never knew. Young songwriters barely out of their teens, clutching notebooks like talismans. They'd knock shyly. "I just wanted to say thank you," they'd tell her. "Your songs saved me more than once. I didn't know they were yours." Lila never turned anyone away. She'd invite them in, make sweet tea, listen to their stories. Sometimes she'd play a new song. Sometimes she'd just sit and let them talk. She walked farther each month, down to the corner market, then to Sentinel Park. One spring day, she walked all the way to the Parthenon, slow, with her cane, but steady. She stood under those columns, face tilted to the sun, and cried quiet tears. "I never thought I'd see this again. Not really see it." We turned the royalties into something lasting. Half went to women's shelters across Tennessee, places with music rooms, art supplies, safe beds for women escaping their own locked doors. The other half funded scholarships, music lessons for kids in underfunded schools, songwriting camps for at-risk teens. Lila named the program Unheard Voices. Every recipient got a copy of Songs from the Walls and a handwritten note from Lila. "Your story matters. Sing it loud." She lived 3 more years. Not long enough, never long enough, but full. She laughed more, sang more, walked without a cane by the end. She even started a small song circle, once a month in the music room. Folks brought guitars, poems, pain. No judgment, just listening. She passed in her sleep one quiet April night. Heart complications, doctors said the years underground had taken their toll on her body, even if her spirit had fought back. I found her in the morning, peaceful, one hand resting on an open notebook. The last page held a single line, fresh ink. "Finally free. Thank you, Ellie." Her funeral was small. Family we'd lost touch with, old friends, a few musicians who'd quietly credited her influence over the years. We buried her in the family plot outside Franklin, beside Mama, under a live oak. No big stone, just her name, Lila Caldwell, songwriter, survivor, sister. She left a letter for me sealed in the same notebook. I read it alone on the porch swing the day after. Ellie, if you're reading this, I'm gone and you're still here carrying the light. Don't grieve too hard. I got 35 years stolen, but you gave me 3 good ones back. That's more than I ever expected. Publish everything. The old songs, the new ones, all of it. Let the world know talent can't be caged forever. It finds its way out, one note, one word, one brave step at a time. Lila taught me that. She taught the world. And somewhere in the light she finally reached, I hope she's smiling. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. If you're out there, wherever you are, drop a comment. Tell me where you're hearing this from. Did it touch something in you? Share it if it did. Stories like this need to travel. With love from a quiet porch in Nashville, Ellie Caldwell. Still listening, still singing.